record right now. So we are recording. Welcome everyone. Hi, my name is Tim. My pronouns are he, him, and I am pleased to see you all here tonight for this training on social media for campaign work and for countering disinformation on social media, which I have some experience with. It's kind of a Wild West to some extent, but I'll share what I have learned as much as I can, and you did forward questions to me as well. So I will do my best to speak to the things that you asked for information about. Before I kick it off, I do want to note, first of all, I'm in Etobicoke, and here this is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is home today to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. And you all know this, the work that we do in climate advocacy, the work that I'm doing right now in queer and trans liberation, these are all intersectional work, and it very much overlaps with the work of reconciliation. So I appreciate the work that you're doing. And I appreciate that we're all aware not only of the history of the land, but also the collective future we have on this land. So thanks for doing what you're doing on that. Um, the goals I envision a pretty free form experience. So you're able to unmute if you want. The chat is open. You can feel free to throw stuff in there. I'll keep an eye on it, and I will answer questions best I can. But just as an overview, I'll start by going through the questions or the requests that were made of me via email that Lynn forwarded to me. But if you have others or things occur to you here, feel empowered to ask. It's something that I'm asked all the time about disinformation online and social media platforms, and I don't know how experienced all of you are on the various platforms, but most of them, not all, which is nice, but most of them are driven by this algorithm. And the algorithm can be a bit mysterious, but the algorithm is very important to understand because that governs who sees what and how far the reach is of the content that is posted by you and by others and by disinformation operations. That is governed by the algorithm. So the algorithm is looking at the kinds of materials that users engage with and seeking to feed them more of what they engage with the most. Crucially, that is not have any valence on whether it's true or not. And in fact, to some extent, it has a negative valence because things that are not true are easier to be inflammatory or exciting. It tends to be very emotionally driven. So people are more likely to engage with content that is divisive, that is aggressive, that is even that it's wrong makes people more likely to engage. And that in some places is the right response, but in many cases with algorithmically driven platforms, it's not. So we'll talk a little bit about when and where to do that to make the most of it. Um, but that's the thing that that's the way they sell ads. And so what I mean by engagement is whether like it's not just it is comments, it is liking, it is resharing, it is saving or bookmarking. But also even on some platforms, like we look at Instagram, if you look at a video for amount of time you spend watching a video is part of the engagement. If you look at it for 2 seconds, that counts for less than if you look at it for 10 seconds or watch it several times. It's measuring that. Even static images, if you are stationary on them for a longer period of time, that is weighted into the algorithm as engagement. So it's quite invasive. Um, what that means is, so it's not just going to serve you more of the content and you engage with more, it's going to put the thumb on the scale a bit for that content for others. And what that means is that if you post something and someone comments on it and you comment back, like that's some engagement. If 10 people comment on it, the algorithm says, oh, this is something that people are interested in. We're going to show it to more people. And that leads to more comments and that snowballs. And that's where you get the virality of posts, when you get that snowball effect. For this reason, when you are posting things, uh, the recency of it matters a lot. So if you are posting something and someone engages with it within the first couple of minutes, that adds a lot more weight algorithmically to the virality of it, to the reach of it. So this is why, on past amplification campaigns I've done, I have worked to maximize that by inviting people to proactively engage with content that the main channel is posting, and then added them to a group chat on that platform so that they can get notified when a new post went up and immediately begin to engage with it. And because the group chat is on that platform, they're already in there. It's very easy to just go in, click in the first minute or two, and start to really ramp up the engagement on it. And that helps to boost the reach faster. So those first few minutes are really vital. I do want to, and I should add this disclaimer, I guess, at the outset. The algorithm is a black box. So all of the stuff that I'm sharing with you is stuff that I've learned from experience, and other people will tell you similar things, but it changes regularly. They're constantly tweaking it. They're constantly changing it. Um, and in particular, like Twitter, they change it to be the whims of Elon Musk. So that's one that you really can't game as well, because it's going to be, you just have to be something Elon Musk likes. But for the other ones, it's mostly around marketing and around money making. So they are constantly tweaking it for that. So the information that I share with you tonight, it may become less accurate over time. It may already be out of date because they are changing it regularly. But this is something that I've seen in my experience using these platforms. Okay, so the flip side of that is that often you are going to see things you don't want to spread. You're going to see disinformation. You're going to see advertising for campaigns that you disagree with. So how do you avoid that while still countering those messages? So because of the algorithmic boosting based on engagement, you don't want, like, everyone in this group sees a post. You don't want all of you commenting, "Oh, this is wrong, blah blah blah." What happens is that just shows it to more people. The people that you follow, yeah, it's recording. Sorry, Liz. I show recording on my screen, so it should be recording. The Sorry, where was I going with that? Yeah, the if all of you comment on it, then what happens is that shows more interest to the algorithm. So it's like, oh, we're going to show it to more people, and that includes people who you are connected to, your network. So the very people that you're generally engaging with politically otherwise are now being served the thing that you didn't like. And so the strategy that I usually recommend, if you are in any way organized about your response, is find someone who's going to respond once, and then everyone else just like that comment. And if you have to reply further, reply to that comment, not to the original post. In the ideal world, you can get that comment to have more likes and more engagement than the original post, which is called ratioing something. And that will mean that the comment is what is mostly served to others, or the reply is what is mostly served to others rather than the original post. And that means that your debunking is getting more visibility than the main post. So either find, if you are not in an organized fashion doing this, if you're just online seeing these things, if you see something that you really feel you have to reply to, look through the existing replies and see if someone has already replied in a good fashion, and just like that. And if you really want to add more, reply to that so that you're boosting that comment. And that's the only, like, do not add another comment. If there's no debunking comment, you may, if that's something that you know the exact answer, you may want to apply one then, so you can be that comment, particularly if it's a new post. Then because you may just be first in the gate on that one. Um, and if a post is like already going viral, you're going to want some kind of reply. Um, this is something that people get wrong all the time. A lot of what you see is people, especially on like Twitter or Blue Sky or one of those, where it's like a microblogging, they quote tweet or quote post something that's wrong and stupid, and they're like, "Ah, look how stupid this is." But now everyone's seen the bad thing. You're only spreading it further, and so you really have to rein in that instinct. Um, so that's the countering disinformation in when you're just seeing it online. That's my recommendation, is to find a comment that's already there and highlight that, like that, engage that, and do that. Like, give out likes to good comments anywhere you see them. That's fine. That's not going to hurt you. But don't add more commentary to it unless you really, really have to, and you'll be the first one. Does that all make sense for how that works with the algorithmic platforms? Well, I think that's a good point to segue there that like the algorithmic platforms are all very heavily algorithmic driven because that's where they make their money. They serve ads. They can look at the algorithm and say, look, we're going to serve these ads, not just broadcasting them, but we're going to target them. This we know what these people like. They have it down like to a science. So I can serve ads about pools to people who love swimming. They're good at that. So that's where they make their money. It's very effective for them. Um, but it means that the like you're the product. So one reason I really like Blue Sky is that it is not algorithmically driven. You are able to create your own algorithms on Blue Sky, but it is not imposed on you. And I quite like that, which makes it better for organizing and better for using it like a real news source. Um, and so for me, it fills the void that Twitter used to fill in the pre-Musk days. So my recommendation in terms of social media platforms is always first Blue Sky, for a few reasons, but that's a big one. Um, I see a question. Can you copy paste and circulate for likes? Yeah, that's another way to do it. Jay, that's a good point. So if you see something that's like quite bad, you could rather than give it engagement, you could screenshot it and then circulate that, like post the screenshot and then add your commentary there. And that is better. You're not giving the account that did it any kind of engagement or feedback, but the message is still there. So just be very conscious in how you do that. But that is another way to avoid giving engagement to those dangerous posts. Is there a difference between a positive response, a like, and a negative thumbs down? Yes, most platforms don't have a thumbs down. Are you thinking of YouTube? Because YouTube does have the thumbs down. And I will confess, I'm not super clear on what the thumbs down does on YouTube because they've hidden them now, so people can't see them. So before it was nice to be like, oh, like this has like 1,000 likes, but it has like 10,000 thumbs down. It's it's dumb, it's bad. But now they've hidden the thumbs down, and so I don't know if it serves a purpose otherwise. Probably it does do something to their algorithmic serving engine, but I'm not sure exactly how impact is. But yes, it does. There is a difference between those. Reddit also has like a downvote, and that applies to the account holder. Like if you downvote something, they take a hit to their. It's called karma on Reddit, and that's to prevent trolling. It's actually quite a good system, and so that's a good way to if someone's putting stuff that's BS all the time, that will add up if they're getting downvoted all the time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. YouTube comments, they've come a long way. They're much better than they used to be. Chris, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to clarify, that's not necessarily about YouTube. That's about, for instance, like Facebook, where they just have some kind of, you can have a negative reaction, right? Whatever that
Oh,
might
like
be.
the angry react in that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those reactions, so those all just count as engagement, even if they're negative. So on Facebook, it's still, if it's angry, they don't care. It doesn't matter to them. It's just engagement, and they're just like, yep, people are angry about this. Well, then we should show it to more people because they'll react to it, and then I can serve them ads about it. Um, and so, yeah, it's going to count as effectively the same on Facebook between any of those five choices you have. Linda.
Hi, sorry, I think I don't know why I'm Linda, but I think I have an account problem. I had a question on like tagging like opposition because sometimes we'll do like a anti-fossil fuel related post and I'm
Hmm.
a little bit nervous to tag Ambridge or Suncor even if the post is about them, but I think it could potentially be helpful because if it's tagged with Suncor or something like that, people who really support that kind of stuff will maybe be drawn into it. They're like, oh, Suncor, who's climate fast? But then I'm worried also about all that negative energy coming into like a small group like this and being like, oh, Climate Fast is talking about us and then kind of ganging up. So just wanted to know how risky is it to tag these kinds of groups, but it would bring in like, engagement because it's connecting us to them and them to us.
Yes, that's a great question and a great point. So, it's important to be very intentional about that because yes, if you are tagging your opposition, the pro is that now they see it, they're aware of this. Their audience, particularly if a post takes off, is tagging them. may see it because they've been tagged in it, and their audience may begin to reply to it, which will then do it will start the same cycle. If their audience starts to reply to it, even negatively, that will just boost the visibility. So you may like leverage that algorithmic virality for your side. And the con is you're going to get that negativity. You're going to get people in seeing that it's not your core supportive audience. You're going to see people who are mostly on the other side out of it because that's the audience they have. And so you're going to get trolling, you're going to get negative comments. And so you have to be intentional about that and be aware, like have a policy in place. On many platforms, if there are comments that are like first up, if it's an outright abusive comment, always report it. Because that's worth doing. It does ding the account that is being abusive. You can hide or delete it. I like if you report it, I like to just report it if it's like outright abusive, but leave it so people can see like, look at these guys are bad. But also like I've grew up on the internet, I have a thick skin for it. If it's really like offensive or you have a team of people, it may be hard to deal with. Don't feel bad about deleting it. Just get rid of it. But you're going to find some that are borderline. And there's especially the people who do a lot of trolling are very good at walking that line and lots of plausible deniability. And you have a choice there. Many platforms have a function that allows you to hide the comment in a way that doesn't notify the person who posted it that it's been hidden. So they see it and they think they've done it, but you've hidden it away so other people aren't exposed to it. This is especially useful if like they're coming at you with like a counter argument that you don't want people to see, like they're trying to rebunk you, I guess would be a phrase. You may want to just hide it rather than do it. Another thing I like to do is if they do this is let someone just get in an argument with them because that's just more posts, it's more engagement, and so that's further reach. And then another thing I like to do is if they're just trolling, is just to thank them for the visibility because that drives them bonkers. Like, oh, thanks for posting. This is now going to reach more people. You've helped, and they hate that. So I like to do that too sometimes. Um, so, but yes, so to answer your question, like just be intentional about it. There are pros and cons to that. It does open you up to a less aligned audience, which means you're likely to get more trolling. So just have a plan in place, understand how you like what we would do like at lead now is if we were going to do something like that, we'd have someone on duty that day who was going to watch the account and just monitor for comments and hide the nasty ones and report the nasty ones, make sure that it cleaned it up. The problem is that if you trigger that and it does go viral and get a big reach, which is great. That's kind of the goal. You're going to get a lot of those comments, and it can be quite depressing to see that. And people will come to it and they'll say like, "Oh my gosh, like all the comments are negative. I feel so bad." And you want to avoid demoralizing people like that. So if you're going to risk that, have a plan in place to deal with those comments, either to make sure they're all responded to, so they see there's activity, there's fight back, or so they can be hidden or deleted or reported. Does that make sense? Yeah. You got to follow up?
Yes, could I ask a follow-up?
Yeah.
So, we do post like say once a week or so, but we r have pretty low engagement. Like I would say if 100 people see a post on Instagram, maybe we'll get 5 likes
Mhm.
out of that 100. If we get 1,000, we might get maybe 100, like tops. I don't think we've ever hit 100, at least in the year that I've been at Climate Fest. So we have relatively low likes, maybe 15 average, which is basically people from Climate Fest,
Yep.
because we are a very supportive group of people, but we want to reach outside our bubble and also engage with other climate groups. So do you have any tips on how to get more interaction, what we can do, given that we have low capacity and not a lot of people to monitor the social media?
Yeah, so there's quite a bit of ways to do this. So I'll try and go through a few of the main ones. So first of all, if you're posting once a week, that's enough. You could post more and that'd be fine. The algorithm tends to reward consistent posting. They want you posting a lot. And it doesn't always have to be like a post to your like a reel or a like an actual post. Just even doing the story, like sharing other people's posts, try and do that basically every day. And so because that allows other people to see you, like doing it for them, and they may be more likely to do it for you and share to their audience. But B, the algorithm will see like, oh, this is an active account, people are viewing it, and it will start to push it to a little bit further reach because it's regular engagement, it's more reliable, and so they want to reward that. So try and get the at least share a few stories, just 5 minutes a day, just like scrolling through your feed and sharing a couple stories that look good. There's virtually no upper limit to how many you can share, but try and share like a few on your story every day. Um, so that's one. Two is to do that in an intentional way with other aligned organizations or pages. And then if you have like a big post, invite them, like just message them or comment like, hey, could you give me a hand and share this your story? Often they'll do it. Like especially like as an aligned one, like you would, right? Like you got a aligned one, you'd probably do it. Like most other pages are doing it for the same reason, so they'll probably do that for you. So do that here and there, and you can also do it for other and try and build that network. And if you're going to do it regularly, like all the big influencers have group chats of other influencers in their like vertical that are notifying each other when their big posts go live or when their reels go live, and that way then they share it right away, and that helps them get much bigger reach. And then if you really want to do that like big time, you can do the collab posts where you're posting to both at the same time. Um, and so you can reach out to another page and say, hey, I want to do a collab post. And then they are sent an invitation and they say yes or no. And if they say yes, then it counts as a post for both of you, which helps to increase the service to their audience of the post that you make. So you can help to build your audience that way and cross-pollinate. And it helps both of you as well. And then because the engagement matters so much, especially early on, if you have, like you said, there's a few like Climate Fest people who like regularly um, maybe get them into like a routine of like telling them there's going to be a standard time you post or just like every like in some way, shape, or form coordinate them to post quickly and get their likes in and right away, and ask them to do a bit more where if they add a comment and it can be the most mundane comment, just like hey, like yay, or emoji, like just any kind of comment that's further boost. And saving the post, just save it to like you hit that little save bookmark icon. That boosts to the algorithm too. So and then share to their stories, even if they only have a few followers. It's just another share counts towards the algorithm. So all of the engagement, like just have them do it all if they're regular to it, and as fast after posting as possible to get the most out of that recency bias that the algorithm has. So try and coordinate that. And that's an opportunity also for if you have an email list to invite the email list to self-identify as people who use the platforms you're using and invite them to amplify things. So you'll actually, if you're on the campaign I'm running right now, the Career Momentum, you're going to get an email probably tomorrow that asks you which of the big social media platforms you use, and it's going to tag you in our database based on your reply. And then what'll happen is when we have like a major post or announcement, we'll send an email like, here's an Instagram post we're going to send to our Instagram list. Say, hey, this is a big one. Can you give it a boost? And so you can bring them in that way as well, and convert them there.
That's a great idea. Maybe a few of us here or other groups, like we could be like 5 p.m. is our posting time. And if we all sign in at 5, we can just see, okay, these groups are also posting at 5, and that way it's low effort. I'll just check those specific groups that post at 5 and quickly reshare and comment and all that.
Yep. Yep. Cool. Uh, Liz, go ahead.
Yeah, I for a while was buying advertising on Facebook. Um, and my question is, with Facebook, you cannot advertise anything that even hints of anything political. Um, and so my question is, do other social media have advertising options, and are they as averse to anything political
You
as
you
Facebook is?
you can do political advertising on Facebook. You have to get your certification from them. You have to be verified. And so there's a way to go through it. It's a pain in the neck, but they verify. You have to go through a process where you submit something to them. They send you physical mail back, and then you send them like a photo of that mail with your ID back, something like that, to verify that you live in the country you live in. And this is because of the Cambridge Analytica and all of that stuff. So it's to verify you live in the country that you're interfering in the politics of. But you can do, once you've done that, you can do political advertising through them. The other platforms do have advertising, and most of them, not all of them. You can advertise on Facebook and Instagram at the same time. Actually, they use the same ad serve. You can advertise on YouTube. You can advertise on Threads, which is also Meta. You can advertise on, what's the other one? TikTok. There is no advertising on Blue Sky, which I like yet. Actually, they're not going to do advertising, is what they're saying. So no advertising there. But you can even advertise on like Spotify. Like they have little, and you can do um, political ads there too. So yeah, and
Okay.
advertising is it works. Like if you have a budget for it, and usually you do get pretty decent bang for your buck in terms of reach. Um, the it definitely has a role to play if you have a budget for it, and it's worth exploring. So yeah, get that certification for Facebook and for Meta, then you can do the Meta ads. Um, and so in there, you'll see ads from all the parties on there because they're doing that. That exact thing. So yeah, you can get reach there. I would say that kind of advertising mostly is best for what I would call visibility ads, like to make sure people are aware of you. Um, Less useful for what I would call persuasion ads. You're not gonna, convince, because most ads get ignored unless someone's already interested. So if you like, you might find the low-hanging fruit of people who are interested in climate and want to do climate stuff. Great, just boost your reach to reach those people. That's a good use of the advertising dollars on social.
Yeah, I mean, I was using it to try to get outside the bubble, but I guess maybe
It I
it's
would say
not.
it depends on what you want to get outside the bubble for. But the
Uh-huh.
thing is that ads are, because they are clearly labeled as advertisements. Um, it People are on guard and either disregard them or are like, "Oh, I'm being sold to. Like this is an attempt to persuade me," and it's
Uh-huh.
less effective right out the gate. And mostly just skipped or ignored. So people just hate advertising. So where I find the greatest utility is just the visibility and finding people who already agree for the advertising, and then as much as possible organic outreach. So if I want to reach outside the bubble, find someone whose values aligned but has a different audience, and see if they'll do a collab, or if we like they'll tag or share our stuff, and help do that way.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Cool. Great. Any other questions before I move on here? I'm just going to start going through your questions you sent me in advance anyway. So, but oh, Brian, yeah.
Yeah, I'm anxious to hear your election advice. But my question is about sort of documenting events that have happened. Like some people are talented enough to be able to live tweet, which I can't do in the middle of an event. So how late is too late to sort of document that you were active in the community or something interesting happened?
Like after the events happen, like how late
Yeah.
before you post? I mean, if it's an event, I would really try and get that like that day. You can certainly do like a retrospective, but you're going to get the most utility out of it
Yeah.
because it is such a fire hose of
Yeah.
happenings, and people are mostly interested in what's happening now. So my recommendation, this is like whenever we do distributed organizing, there's always in the toolkit like a take a group photo and post it there, like at the start of the event.
Mm.
And that's where you get the most reach out of it. Um, yeah, but I mean, if you've got content and you're looking for content, and you just use it. That's fine. But your best bang for your buck is going to be right away. Cool, great. I see people in the chat are identifying all the Lindas, so that's good. Good to suss that out. All right, great. So I have a series of questions here. I want to increase our reach for Instagram or for each of the platforms. Yeah, so increasing the reach really does come down to like we talked a lot about that already. I think the you can do on Facebook. I think I think any of the meta platforms, but definitely on Facebook. If you have a list, like an email list that is at least like, I think it's like 500 people, you can do what's called a lookalike audience. And so what that is you input your email list into their ad server and say, find me people who are similar to these people because they're statistically likely to have similar interests. And these people are interested in your organization because they've signed up for it. So it gives you a better chance. It's not just a raw audience or a cold audience. You're more likely to target someone who wants to see your ad. So that is worth doing if you have the technical wherewithal to do that and the money. Um, but bear in mind, it does put that information into Facebook. So just know that that's what you're doing, which is why they offer it. But it is nice, especially in the larger your list, the more useful it will be. So if you have like a big list, like a 20,000 person list, you're going to get pretty good um, data out of that in that service. So that's another way you can extend your reach. And again, that's like trying to find people who are already somewhat aligned, which is again the best use case I think for advertising dollars on digital. Um, the uh, the interplay between social media and like the real world is something that's worth being intentional about as well. So if you are out doing your day-to-day organizing, and I know you guys do great organizing in the real world, um, try and integrate the social media side of that with your organizing activity if this is going to be a focus for you. So what that means is like putting the Instagram handle or whatever your main platform is on your flyers, or a QR code, like follow us here, like on the bottom of a poster, so people can quickly and easily do that. Just making it part of it. And like most people still won't do that, but some will, and that will start to add more organic growth to your platform. And since you're already doing that work, like it costs nothing to just add that. So that's a useful way to do that. Um, and speaking of your favorite platform or whatnot, I really think that unless you have a ton of time or like a staff or like a real hot shot, most cases it makes sense to like pick a platform. It's like this is our platform where we're really doing most of our work. And then the other ones you can maintain a presence, but I would really focus on one just because it's a full-time job to really be like a social media maven. So the which platform you choose really depends on you and what your goals are. They are different demographic alignments. They are different modes of engagement. They are different audiences. So it depends on what you're trying to do. But and also, I mean, the biggest thing is adherence. Like, are you actually doing it? If you're on a platform that's like the right platform for your organization, but you hate it and you never want to do it, you won't do it as much and you won't do it as well. So just pick one you like, that you feel better suited for. Um, but that's yeah, so I typically would recommend just focusing unless again you have like either multiple people with different skills or like a full staffer, or you're very good at social media and you enjoy it. Cool. All right, I'll keep going through here. How to effectively use platform to help support and potential populist supporters. This is the the perennial struggle. I This is probably a good time to mention the like there it's you're gonna see stuff that's wrong and stuff that's stupid, and you're gonna see stuff that's like really inflammatory, and some percentage of that is real and some percentage of it is not. And it's tough to identify by design. They're quite skilled, these disinformation operations, but some percentage of it is just not real. Um, and so uh, the primary objective of disinformation operations is not about convincing people to believe something that's false. It is making it difficult. It's imposing a cost, a friction to knowing what is true at all. Um, the disinformation operations, their goals have been met if you give up, you're like, screw it. This is too hard to figure out. I don't know the truth. If you get mad and you're trolling and you start fighting with people, that's fine. That works for them. Even if you're right about it, just constantly fighting, that's division. And something that helps them fracture democracy. So that plays into it too. So there are some things you can look for to identify the accounts that are fake, that are just disinformation operations. Some of the like classic indicators, like if you've got an account that is like the profile pic is like a cartoon character or an anime character, and the name is either like an inflammatory name or it's like a bunch of numbers in it, or there's no profile pic at all. If they are, if it's an account that has no posts of their own, but tons of replies, lots of comments and replies, that's a textbook. Or they'll have like one post or two posts, just like and very generic, but then a ton of replies. And the replies, sometimes they're like a lot of BS, but sometimes they're like very like one of the tactics is to be very reasonable sounding, but just to constantly be like, oh, I don't know if that maybe that's not the right approach. But over and over and over, no matter what. And it's just to, again, cause doubt, cause confusion. And so, and they'll insert themselves into conversations to derail them and to make it difficult to organize, difficult to find unity and find truth. So those exist, and they're sophisticated and they're well funded. So the reason to bring it all back to the original question, when you are up against one of those, the just block it. Just block it. So if you start to suspect that's what you're dealing with, just block it. Just don't engage because engaging it is just going to amplify it. Um, you if unless you are going to do like a full like counter disinfo operation where you're tracking them and you're starting to put them into a list and like doing that kind of work, which is very, very time consuming and difficult. There are people who do that. I wouldn't commit to that if I were you. Just like once you've identified like, oh, this is probably fake. I just have a list on my Blue Sky and it says like it's called likely fake. I just throw them in there and block them, and then never think about them again. Um, but your goal when you are trying to support the ones that are real, and how to use the platform to do that, and the the hard truth is that it isn't going to happen on social media. The best thing you can do to prevent that or to fight that is to build strong relationships in real life and to if on social media, the best thing you can do is to be um, driving the narrative yourself as much as possible rather than responding to other narratives. So trying to set the agenda as much as you can, because then you're talking about what you want, and then other people, if they're pushing back against you, that's fine, but that's now boosting your narrative. So as much as possible, try and set the direction, try and be taking the control of the narrative. But the descent into the this far right populism is less about a political strategy and more about like a cult deprogramming approach. And that just doesn't happen online. It just isn't the space for it. You can provide evidence for people who are good at that work for their communities. You can equip people to take things back to the real world. But the incentive structure of social media is that it's very public, and there is a lot of incentive around increasing engagement through increasing inflammatory rhetoric. And so in order to deprogram people, they need to decrease, they need to go the other direction. And that's hard to do even with like a trusted friend. It's hard to be like, I'm not sure if I'm right. I have to reconsider. That's hard to do even with someone you really care about. Doing it with someone that you don't know at all or barely know and in a public venue, it just isn't going to happen. So I wouldn't, that would be focus where you can in the real world, build those relationships in the real world, and equip your supporters with the information they need to do it. I did a training on that specifically for Lead Now once that is recorded, so I could share that with you later. But that comes down to just being very open, asking a lot of questions so that they can kind of lead themselves to be like, I don't know if I know the answer to your question, or like these two things now conflict. Like it's quite a process, and it will take many interactions, and it will take a lot of trust being built and being maintained in tough situations. It's quite a lengthy procedure to do. Anna, I see your hand.
Yeah, I had a question on, I guess, like reaching out to populations that usually don't come to the Climate Fest channel. One thing we tried last fall was when the Taylor Swift concert was happening. We thought that would be like good thing for the algorithm because people were talking about that a lot. So we made some, I think Susan made something on Climate Fast, sorry, on Taylor Swift, and then we did some flyering at the concert as well, but it didn't get as much traction as we thought. So I think like I'm not sure what the lesson learned there is. Like what did we do that could have done better if there is an existing trend? Because there will be more concerts, there will be more festivals that we could maybe kind of piggyback off of when those events happen this summer. So any tips on how to like take advantage of existing bigger movements? And also, yeah, how do you get those populations that are not in your algorithm or in your bubble?
Well,
Um,
yeah. So I'll start with the Taylor Swift one, and like so many people try that, because they all see the reach she has, and they all see that. Um, it just like to some extent you can do it, you can just kind of glom on, but the problem is that uh, it is it is exactly what it looks like, which is someone who is not doing Taylor Swift stuff, trying to jump onto the Taylor Swift train for their own purposes, which doesn't land well with people. So even if you get the reach, they're going to be like, why am I getting this? This isn't. So the counter to that is like make it authentic. Like, I bet you there are people who are really into Taylor Swift or whatever the trend is of the day that also care about the climate. And if you can do some organizing with them and say like, hey, like you have an audience that is these people, can you share our message with them through your channel? So they're a trusted messenger that's part of that community and it's authentic, and it's real. That's going to get you much, much, much further. Obviously, it's harder, but that uh, deals with that inauthenticity. And when it gets to be like a big trend like that, the problem is that everyone is doing what you're doing. They're all trying to jump on it. All the brands are doing it with all their money. It's everywhere, and that it pisses off the people who are in the trend because they're in the trend. Um, and so it's to some extent, even if it works in terms of reach, it's not actually really helping your cause much unless you're going about it in an authentic way. So try and find those trusted messengers who are part of that culture, or if you are like authentically part of that culture, or if the overlap is just so great, like so perfect, like if Taylor Swift did a concert called like Earth Day, absolutely, right? Like yeah, jump on that. But uh, it's tricky to insert yourself into that, especially when everyone else is trying to do the same thing without that in from someone authentically connected to the community. Um, with broader trends that are less like a cultural subculture, where like it's just like everyone on the internet is doing a particular meme and you want to do that meme, you can do that and you can give it a go. It's the same kind of thing there. Like it's a bit of a crapshoot, because lots of people are doing it. That's what makes it a trend. Then you get drowned out pretty readily, but it's worth, I think, giving it a try usually if you think you got something decent to contribute, because like some percentage of them, a very small percent, but some percent of them are going to take off, and continue the trend, and it might be yours, and it won't be if you don't do one. So you might as well. If it's that kind of thing where it's like a meme of the day or like there's a hot topic. You can do, most platforms have like a trending tab or some way of seeing what is trending. Hashtags are less common now. They're still around, but they're less commonly used. But there's almost every platform has some kind of, even Blue Sky doesn't have an algorithm, but it has like a trending tab. You can see what is trending, what the conversation is. It is worth weighing in on the topic of the day and being part of that conversation if it's even remotely relevant. Because what does a post cost? Nothing really. But any kind of, if it's a subculture thing like that, you really need like a trusted messenger from that community to make it work, and deliver conversions. Well, sorry, what was the second half of your question? I forgot. Rambling on.
on kind of going out of your bubble, but maybe not so far as like the alt-right, but maybe the people who are kind of like, I care about the climate, but I'm not really doing anything about it kind of population.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, what do you want them to do when you get them, right?
I think it's to come to our Climate Fast meetings. I think that's the first step. Like, come join our community. Because once you're in the community, I think it works. Like, you just
Yeah,
need to be surrounded by, people. Because like you're saying, like, it comes back to relations.
yeah.
It really is important. That's the most important part about this, the community part of it.
What you're doing is, so you're familiar with the ladder of engagement concept, like when you're doing volunteer work. I'll go through it quick if you're not. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So as people like people who organize with a cause are moving up this ladder of engagement based on like how committed they are to taking action and what level of action they're willing to take. And so there's like a bottom rung of the ladder of engagement, which is the like just be plugged in, which is often like a typical example would be like you start a petition and signing a petition is like the bottom rung. Like it's very easy to sign a petition online. But then you may say, okay, we've got your email from the petition. I'll email you and say, hey, you've signed a petition. Could you call your MP? And that's like stepping up a ladder. It's like some percentage of the people at the bottom rung will take that next step. And then you say those people like, oh, I'd like you to come to an in-person meeting to talk about our next steps or become an organizer with the group. That's like another higher rung. And a big part of the work of organizing is just moving people up that ladder. On social media, like your job is pretty much to get the ladder to them so they can start to climb. And so you're trying to get people into a meeting. There's sub steps below that first rung of the ladder there that you could get people on through social media, but you've got to identify where they're at in that chain. So someone who already cares about the climate and is like, I just need a way to take action. I just feel hopeless. I want a way to take action. They're perfect for you to say like, I have an action. It's come to a meeting with Climate Fest. We do this work and we're doing things. That's like A plus. That's your top priority prospect. But most people are probably not that exact person yet. So when you are crafting a social media campaign, a messaging campaign of any kind, really, you are maybe looking for people who like you want those people, of course, and that's where you put your ad money. That's where you get your the post for that. But you're also looking to get people who are loosely aware that there's a problem and like background concerned about it, and then making it more urgent for them that they see themselves as someone who can do something about it and feel a responsibility to do so or feel a desire to do so. Um, and that it's like you don't know where everyone is that's seeing it. You don't know where they are on that journey. Um, and that makes it hard to advance them on the journey because you really got to give them the next step, not like 5 steps later on. Um, all of which to say, what you may want to do then is like have several campaigns going at a time that is hitting each of those steps in the journey, and then just like shotgun them out because you're going to catch different audiences, and some percentage of them will hit the right audience for the right messaging element. And so that's it's just a numbers game at that point. You're increasing your odds. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Cool. Other questions before I go back to the ones that were pre-written? Okay, cool.
Thanks, Tim. I notice it's 9 minutes to
Oh,
nine,
geez,
so we're
sorry. Yeah.
running down. We don't want to keep you longer than you planned for, and it's certainly been really helpful so far, I think. But go ahead, use the 9 minutes, however is good for you.
Okay, I got a couple more here from people in the beginning. So it was, I'd like to be able to learn how to move text, videos, etc., from FB and X and insert them into emails, text, and WhatsApp, and so forth. And that, I think you just mean like logistically, like take that text and put it into the emails. There's a few ways to solve this. Um, a lot of times in an email, like you want to communicate, like, look what we saw online, or like, look at this engagement. Like a screenshot is fine. Um, there are times where you may want to, and screenshot, like, if you don't know how to do that, there's like a screenshot button on most keyboards. You just hit screenshot and then select the part of the screen that you want. Um, the Sometimes you want to link out to a social media platform. Often you don't, but sometimes you do, and then you can just link to a particular post. Most posts will have yes, Jane, we will. Most posts will have a share button, and if you click on that share button, one of the options is copy the link to the post, and that will allow you to share that post directly and link to it in an email. So that's another way to do that, or in WhatsApp or whatever you like. Um, and you can do that on, I think almost all the platforms have that. I hope that answers that question. This last one then was better skills in Instagram, which hopefully we covered a lot of that. And hate FB, but use Instagram, Blue Sky, Signal, etc. And yeah, I also do not love FB. In fact, I stopped using FB and Instagram now entirely. Just Blue Sky now. Which I like a lot. At minimum, I would say I think it's time for us all to get rid of Twitter. I think we're done with that one. But your call. And if you're still getting use out of it, great. But Twitter's a lot of bots and a lot of just garbage, and a lot of Nazis. So I think like Blue Sky just gives me everything that Twitter does, and you get much better engagement on it anyway, even with smaller follower counts because it's all people. So they actually see it. I We have 6 minutes left. I want to very quickly show you my kid because he's adorable, if that's all right. And then but if there's any other questions, throw them in the chat right now. I'll be right back. I'm sorry. He's extremely determined to play with this dump truck. He was not interested, and I don't want to make him do it against his will. So I'm sorry. Take my word for it. He's adorable. I see some more questions. What's your handle on Blue Sky? Oh, I'll put it in the chat. Enter your Instagram handles. Yeah, if you're using Instagram, they're great. Election messaging, yeah, great. And what do you think of Mastodon? Okay, so I'll do Mastodon first because it's quick. Mastodon, I think is very great. I don't think there's much like it's a cool platform, a cool idea. I just don't think it's caught on, and there's a few reasons for that. I don't think it's going to catch on in the same way that we're used to, and that doesn't mean it's not useful for what it is. I think it's a great concept and a great platform, but it's you're going to reach people who agree with you already, and sometimes there's a lot of utility in that, but you won't reach many of them, and it's a lot of work. There is a Canadian server that I am on. I don't use it very often, but um, here's my Blue Sky in the chat. And then election messaging, like this election. Um, I mean, you're up against a tough information environment because there's so much focus on the tariffs and on Trump and the threats to our sovereignty. It's going to be very difficult for climate stuff to break through, I think. Um, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. And it is important not to lose sight of the importance of the climate as an election issue. So I would say, off the top of my head, a huge part of the threat from the United States right now is because of how dependent we are on the American economy, and the fastest route to maintaining our sovereignty is building more resilience and more independence here. And the fastest way to do that is renewable energy. Like it is the time for big government investment in big, ambitious solutions. There's a threat, a clear and present threat to our sovereignty right now. And so part of that it has to be done in a sustainable way in general, but purely strategically, it makes a lot of strategic sense for Canada as a nation to invest in energy infrastructure that isn't controlled or isn't part of the American supply chain. And that means renewables. That means building our industry and manufacturing here for solar panels, for wind energy. And leveraging those things. And people are going to talk about energy independence. They're going to mean oil, but there's much, much more to it. And I think that's really important to talk about. The other thing is that the civil defense notion that we like have to be ready for like an American invasion, it's obviously still very outlandish, but it's not 0% chance. And so building local distributed energy also builds resilience for local communities in the event of, and not just an invasion, but like climate disasters are going to continue to occur. Like we're living through this multi-crisis, and so like I actually wrote up. Geez, I'll send it to you, Brian. I wrote up a page about that directly ties climate and the threat from the Americans together. I'll send you that because I wrote up some messaging about it. I don't have it right off the cuff.
Could I just say that Housen from T had a slide in his presentations on Monday night about promoting local energy economy and our local sources rather than relying on the fracked gas that we import. And I mean, what we should do is have like a huge tariff on that fracked gas coming in. Anyway, I don't know that I could find his slide. I have a set of his slides. I could look, but it's a good concept to use this to pivot, from the crisis that's in front of us to draw in the climate issue and our energy options, electricity options. Yeah.
Anytime you're doing persuasion of any kind, it's like you have great solutions for your problems that you're trying to solve as Climate Fast. When you are reaching audiences that are not already your audience, then you want to show them how your solutions are also going to be solutions for their problems. And that's why like taking and saying like, oh, renewable energy helps address independence and our sovereignty and these sorts of things addresses what is top of mind for many voters right now. Brian, I see your hand up. We got a couple minutes left.
Sorry. Should we be doing some just general, remember to vote? This is one of the most important elections you could vote in. Here in Etobicoke, boundaries have changed slightly. I think all three boundaries have changed. There are new candidates. Should we
Never hurts.
be banging the drum to vote?
Never hurts, never hurts. Yeah. Just reminders help. Like the big swing vote is between people who vote and people who don't, not between left and right. And so it's like every nudge helps to put people might be the nudge that puts someone over the edge, and it all adds up. So it definitely doesn't hurt to do.
I did screenshots of the Elections Canada pages where the candidates are listed. So I think I'll share that and direct people to that if they don't know where they're. I just got my voting card yesterday, I think. So I don't know if everyone's receiving them, but some people may still not know where to vote and so forth. So anyway, just
It's
wanted to ask.
useful to ride that energy too because the election is such a clear mechanism for change in policy, and
Yeah.
it's so urgent. Like urgency is a key driver of action. If things are urgent, people are much more likely to take action, and so the election provides immediate urgency that you can borrow in driving people towards action.
Yeah. You can
Eh,
even take a picture of your voting card and say, did you get your voting card? Here's the
Yeah.
voting dates. Here's the information page. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Tim. This has been really helpful. I guess one thing I'm hoping is that we could tag each other. So I don't know if we should be exchanging our own tags or put them in the chat and collect them that
Yeah.
way. Anyway, I don't
Share
know.
each other's posts, reply to each other, just more
Yeah.
Yeah, look
engagement, more
look
Amplify.
at
dialogue.
each other's posts.
Yep.
Um, and you're going to send me the list of registrants. So if there's something to follow up with all of us, then I'd be able to do that. So be in touch with me if you want something more. But thank you very, very much, Tim.
Yeah, no
You're
problem. And if you have
extremely
questions, give me a
helpful.
shout anytime. Happy to help where I
Okay.
can. All right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Tim.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
And
Bye, everyone.
I'll send you an Orion
I'm going to
photo
put
since he wouldn't show up.
my clapping here. It doesn't come with effect, but there you are. That's the clapping.
Well,
Is the effect.
all right. Well, thank you.
Okay,
All
and
right.
thanks
Thanks, everyone.
everybody for coming. And we'll have the recording if we want to share it with others.
Yes. Have a great night.
All right.
Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.